Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unusual Brief, the show where we brief you on all things unusual. I'm your host, Sean, and with me today,
Doc Vikela, as usual.
Doc Vikela. How are you doing today, Doc?
I'm good, my guy.
You well?
Great.
Good to be here. Good to be here,
brand
Doc.
new.
Spanking brand new.
Yeah.
Brand new Doc, brand new Sean, brand new show, brand new Zim,
Brand new government.
brand new government.
Brand new president in the office.
So here's something interesting, Doc. November 2017, the hottest profession in the world. Okay, not in the world, I'm exaggerating. But the hottest profession in Zimbabwe, at least. It wasn't doctor, it wasn't lawyer, you know, the usual things that that people would expect.
The
It was
change
the
monies.
unusual. It was the unusual. The hottest profession in the country was being a soldier. I mean, so the ZDF, they came in, you may or may not have heard about it. I don't know. But they came and launched what they called Operation Restore Legacy.
Restore Legacy.
Yes, exactly. So this political and socio-economical experiment, if you will.
Targeting the criminals around the president.
Targeting the criminals around the president. And what ended up happening is President Mugabe resigned, of course, and now President Mnangagwa is in power.
over, yeah.
But what was the most interesting thing about it, and we touched on it before, was just the love that was shown to the soldiers from the citizens, but more importantly, the love that was shown to the citizens from the soldiers.
It was like a romance story from it was like Bonnie and Clyde.
Man.
Because there were bullets, the bullets didn't fly, so but it was like a cool Bonnie and Clyde.
Right.
With no bullets.
Right, and I mean that was crazy because I know in Zim there's often, in terms of public opinion, when you look at the relationship maybe the police have had with the citizens in the past, you know, it's been a bit, you know, there's been some tension here and there. But you know, the soldiers came through, they did their thing, and I mean, they were helping old ladies cross the road. They were helping
kissing
with traffic
babies.
and stuff. These guys were taking selfies with people. They
were
were out
dancing,
partying with people. So, you know, I sometimes wonder, is this something that they have been taught to do in their training, or do you think it was it instruction that they were given specifically for this time period in order to keep the public on their side, or was it just humans being humans? What do you think?
I think the army is founded on discipline.
Right.
Everywhere else, watch the movies, watch the Marines in the American movies.
Yeah,
watch,
yeah.
Soldiers are they're principled on the lines of discipline,
Yes.
where you have to follow the handbook of the
Right.
army. So I think one of the anchors that they were taught is to treat people with respect,
Yeah.
to respect the people because their power comes from the people.
From the people.
Exactly. Because say our army is engaging in a war with Botswana and they've been treating us like cack. Do you think we'll join in and throw stones at the Botswana army? Be like, come, yeah. So I think that also has to do with their orientation.
Yeah.
And also the fact that they were also fed up with the status quo.
Right.
Remember, this is a soldier by uniform and by orientation, but first and foremost, is a Zimbabwean citizen.
That's true.
So in aiding this transition, whatever they call it, this dispensation, whatever they called it, a coup that wasn't a coup,
Yeah.
they were asserting that we are citizens of Zimbabwe first, we know what you're feeling, we are there with you. It's and it was
There was that connection. You really felt it. There's that famous picture that went viral on the internet of someone made it into a meme where it said coups in other countries, because of course those are coups.
Yeah.
Further proof that it was not a coup.
a coup, yeah.
And you know, a coup in Zimbabwe,
It was a
and
coup.
you see the guys walking across, and the tank is there in the background. So you know, I think that really shows you.
The amount of I think the level that we are as Zimbabweans
Right.
is phenomenal.
Right.
In any case, I think it was a well-executed plan, whatever it was, and it gave a new way of thinking, a new direction. People were happy. I think for starters, let's look at it from this angle.
Yeah.
The soldiers helped us realize our dream.
But I think that's it for this section of the show. So we'll catch you after the break. Okay, welcome back to the show. Now, Doc, last December, National Assembly representative for Kwadzana Advocates, Nelson Chamisa, suggested prosecuting men for infidelity. And of course, the Speaker of the House stopped him and said that he was digressing because the subject at hand was actually gender-based violence. Now, I'm interested to know, what is the relationship between the two? I mean, do you think that a large part of the violence that happens between intimate couples is because of infidelity? Why exactly did the Speaker of the House say that he digressed when some could argue it is, they are closely connected?
I think before we even go to that, first of all, the point of order from me to the Honorable is that is ridiculous, is crazy. Because you cannot be talking about domestic violence stemming out from infidelity. Domestic violence comes from a point of where there's a disagreement. Other men who just come in from the bar and starts beating his wife for no reason. Is there infidelity there?
Well, it's true.
The most cases where the man beats his wife is because probably psychologically he's got issues.
That's
or
true.
he's drunk and then he starts whatever where is the infidelity there? On other cases, when women beat men, it's because and then she starts beating his husband. So is there infidelity there? So in as much as we try to be more people-centered, sound democratic and stuff, let's think before we talk.
Right.
Yeah, that was simple blabbering. It was nonsense.
So, but would you not argue that in some way there is a connection at all? Is it completely unrelated? Or would you say, I mean, because you did mention that it could come from a disagreement. So what if the disagreement is, hey, you're out with Joe and Sam and whatever, and
But then you can say pregnancy comes from too much intercourse, because you can do it once and then there's pregnancy. So that's what he was implying. That you get my example. It's as crazy as that, because we cannot pinpoint that as the cause of gender-based violence. Gender-based violence comes from a source of where there's disgruntlement, dissatisfaction, there's disconnection between people, there's personality traits.
Right.
Yeah. I'll tell you that people might fight. They're not infidels. I don't know if that means infidels.
Infidels. No, I suppose you could say that it's not necessarily the main cause, but it could be one of the factors involved in it. But so in that case, he was digressing from the main topic.
He was digressing. He was. Sometimes people like to hear themselves speak. Maybe he didn't have anything to say. Yeah, I mean, like, really, who says that? You know, because it's crazy. Because if you look at infidelity, it's not a man thing. Because he was mainly based on saying men who are people who are infidelity, but men who have small houses. That's what he said.
Right.
He said men with small houses should be arrested.
Right.
You see? So when you're saying that, you're implying that these small houses are goats, sheep, and leopards. No, they are people.
Yeah.
They are human beings. So even if people stay at home and say, I'm staying the weekend with my wife, on Monday they go to work. What if the affair is with the boss or a subordinate?
Right.
And they go into the toilet, they go into the... You cannot stop these things by mere saying you want to criminalize it. It creates problems in the long run.
Well, actually, that's what I was getting to next. Even if it was criminalized, do you think that men would now stay at home for their families, or would it become a case of forbidden fruit tastes sweetest, as tends to be the case with a lot of these things? I mean, in a lot of countries, in many countries, prostitution is illegal, but it doesn't stop it from happening.
This will sound unpopular, but you realize that the rate of even diseases will rise. Most people just resort to and then...
Oh, wow.
You know, it is like, when I get this sort of opportunity, and then...
From the doctor, as always. So the next thing, actually, we're talking about families.
Yeah.
Ethiopia have just banned child adoption for foreign adoptees. Foreign adopters, rather. What do you think about that? Is that basically where it stemmed from? Just to give you some background, is because an American couple, rather, had adopted an Ethiopian child and supposedly killed this child. So now the law has been put into place to protect children from being taken out of the country and maybe being abused or harmed. What do you think about that, man?
I don't know. I think, like, I'm no expert in these things, but from a layman's point of view, in America, they have centers where kids go the social services and stuff. And then they've got the, I think the unemployment benefits. I think so. Even in South Africa, they have them, where if you're not employed, you get a grant from the government, you are able to take care of your kids. If you can't take care of your family, they assist you, etc. That's what we're missing in Africa, you see? Because now we cannot comment on saying whether it's bad or it's right. Because the more we are in poverty, the more you see people making those drastic mistakes of abandoning kids. They end up at a home, people come through, oh, I like that one. Oh, let me adopt that one. I'll call you David Madonna. You know, I will call you Zahara Jolie Pitt. You know,
And it's true though. I mean, it was a big thing with the celebrities, with the US celebrities. And of course, the notion was always wanting to give this child a better life than they could have here.
But it's a good thing also because look at all these youngsters that have been taken from Africa. Right now, they have a better life.
Right.
You see, when they grow up and they realize that, oh, I've got roots in Malawi, if they are, smart enough, they will send their family, their descendants handouts. Because at the end of the day, Africa is so much used to handouts that they will not just vanish tomorrow. That's a fact. So these kids have a better future. The future of our kids is non-negotiable. It's one thing that has to be guaranteed. So if this child is homeless, it's a children's home, and someone wants to adopt, why not? What I don't prescribe to is when this kid has a mother and father, and then they give up that child for adoption. I mean, really? Have you failed as a parent to that level? Poverty will eat what you are eating.
Even
suffer, you suffer continue. I mean,
No, fair enough. Now, once again, wise words from the doctor, from Doc Vikela.
They're not really wise, but take what you want and leave what you don't want.
And leave what we don't want. Well, that's it for this segment of the show. Who we got in the house? Am I taking this one? No, you're gonna take this one.
I've got to take this one. It's a special lady. Yeah, all right. I think it's a surprise. You see after the break.
Cheers.
Welcome back to the show. This is still The Unusual Brief. My name is Doc Vikela, and in our final segment, I have the Honorable Jessima Jome. She's a former Deputy Minister of Justice and Parliamentary Affairs, former Deputy Minister of Women Affairs, future Minister of Finance. You can speculate, you never know where we are going. Welcome to the show, ma'am.
Thank you, Doc.
Right, today on the show, we want to talk about things that have happened before. For example, we had a military intervention by the army last year that led to us celebrating a former president going by the wayside. What do you think about the events surrounding that?
I think that exercise, whatever its proper name is, was conducted with military precision. I think we even demonstrated in the streets with military precision and military permission. The tanks allowed us to roll onto the streets. And what I found really fascinating and really dramatic was how we couldn't quite agree on what to call it. But it seemed we all agreed not to call it a coup.
A coup, that's not a coup.
Exactly. But, well, it delivered better than a coup, I would say. And because, look, we don't want a military, generally, we don't want a military solution and a military government. But the fact is, the military solution then is the one that ushered the former President Mugabe out. And it was a very refreshing, and the irony is that the soldiers were behaving so much better, so much than...
Like our homies.
Exactly.
Take selfies, like...
There you go. And funny enough that it almost seems as if we had to have one or the other, that we used to have the police, and when that would harass and terrorize us. And then it seems as if we must exchange one for the other. So when the army came in, the police moved out, and very interesting.
And people were happy that finally what others call them, the street kids, were off on the streets harassing and grabbing our ice creams, so to speak, our hard-earned cash. So do you think this...
Did you hear that it was called many things a coup de grace?
Okay, coup de grace. I didn't know. Wow.
And many other things. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I think it came with its positives. And do you think that Africa can take this template and rather, instead of the bloody coups and, okay, it was not a coup, the bloody transitions that happen in other areas, do you think the intervention of our army is something that to take note or to, something to follow in other states in Africa?
Look, personally, I wouldn't say that we would write a recipe book that says ingredient number 1, tanks, and 2, army, etc. And on the method number 1, go out onto the streets, use the, or the method that use the army. Personally, I don't think that's the right way to change government. But if you are going to do it, then if you have to do that, if you have nothing else, do it that way.
Let it be bloodless.
Exactly.
Because the euphoria and I think the whole event we realized that we had one common goal, and I think going forward, do you think that what happened, where we are today and what happened, these two things they marry, or it's far from the expectations of the celebrations? You saw what happened. I don't think even 1980 was that huge. I mean, do you think those two things marry, or we are totally on a different tangent from the expectations of the celebrations that were coupled on that day?
I think we are on a tangent. We are maybe not on a tangent, but we're not exactly in the direction that this very guarded and frozen euphoria, if I can call it that, was, because after 37 years of one-party rule and one-man rule, and difficult rule, very painful, difficult, hard rule, my sense is that the expectations of Zimbabweans, including myself, is that we just want to relief. We want a change of the life that we had. And we actually almost want it immediately. After 37 years, I mean, we don't want to wait some more.
Yeah.
So it's like we expect almost immediately the money shortage to end. For there to be cash in our pockets, we expect, for example, prices to just go down. Yeah. We expect everything like
overnight.
Instant coffee.
Oh, yeah. Which
So
it doesn't happen that way. I think even in Parliament, everything takes time, throwing things back and forth until finally you come up with a solution.
That is, if you come up with a solution.
Oh, okay. However, in other news, I want to ask you this question. Before you explain, I want a yes or no. No, maybe. Should men be criminalized for infidelity?
No.
Can you now elaborate? Because contrary to popular belief, there are other assertions that they should be criminalized, they shouldn't. Why do you say no? I
say no because, one, women also engage in infidelity. So so the first reason is, should men be criminalized? Why not people? Then that's number one, because that would mean that only men. Yeah. But also secondly, criminal sanctions are a very severe form of sanction that you place on conduct that is absolutely, let me say, reprehensible, and totally maybe dangerous and totally unhelpful for society. So to make, this is where the state itself moves in and says, right, this conduct, this behavior is totally unhelpful for society, and if it goes on, there will be no society, and from a public policy point of view, the state has got to step in like Big Brother and squash it, right? So in my view, infidelity is not that kind of thing. It's I'm not saying it's a good thing. Yeah. But I'm not saying that it's an ill that is so bad that the state needs to step into people's bedrooms for. Oh, yeah. Because we do the law that because you lock a person up for infidelity, really. Because I think it's about relationships. Once you see a person doing that, it means something's gone wrong in that relationship. You don't cure relationships by handcuffs and bars and fines, because you see they'll pay the fine, they'll go to jail, these are human beings. Over and over Plus, again. Really, should we use taxpayers' money to do that? There are civil courts that are meant for that. If anybody wants to, the law already provides in the civil sense that if you are wronged at a personal level that way, you go to court, you sue for damages. You can also even sue for an interdict to stop the other person improperly associating with your person. And you can also even proceed, if you can sue for divorce and leave them and then find somebody else who doesn't do that, seriously. Because adultery, actually, in a lot of, in the development of civil law and family law, in many legal traditions, like the one that we follow, the Roman Dutch law tradition, even as well as the English law tradition that we sort of both follow, adultery used to be a criminal offense itself. And then it was agreed that, look, society has developed to such an extent that we let people make choices and they live or die with their choices.
Yeah.
And we leave the people's private lives to remain that. That is not good policy for the state to step into people's bedrooms, to regulate things like, let us regulate and make criminal offenses things like murder, rape, and corruption,
Especially corruption.
Exactly. Or reckless driving and going through red robots or things like that. That should be criminal offense because, seriously speaking, I mean, the state has got, let the state deal with state issues and let the private arena
Deal with the private
arena.
So, in its generality, by a flip of a coin, who do you think is can I use the word the most infidel, if there's a word like that? In terms of infidelity, by a flip of a coin, women or men, who takes the cup?
Look, I really don't know. I haven't done the counts.
Okay, you told me that. Like you haven't done the census of saying,
don't
okay,
know.
let's see women, you are 20 of you, men, you are 40. Okay.
But I hear that women are particularly good at concealing it. They're extremely good, and their infidelity, I hear that it's extremely hard to detect.
When you find out it's because a man is bragging to his guys at the bar, like, you know what, that's right, and I'm like, everything is hard. Okay.
There you go.
Okay. So moving right along, there's been a trend that has been transcending across Africa, the issue of adoption. What are your thoughts when people from America, Britain, Germany, etc., from the West come to Africa to adopt babies? Especially, we've seen the trend in Ethiopia, we've seen it in Zambia with Madonna, Ethiopia with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. What's your take on that?
I think adoption is a wonderful thing. In fact, it's a facility that allows a child who is abandoned and who would otherwise have no hope of having somebody who loves them directly as a parent and who will care for them to get a chance to get out of an institution and live a normal family life. And I think personally, I think adoption is in the best interest of children. There are so very many children who have no one to love them. And if there's a person who wants to do that, who wants to take care of a child, I think the necessary checks, security checks, psychological profiling tests and so on must be taken to ensure that that person is in good faith. And even there must also be, even after that, means of checking to see whether the child is looking after. So I support it very much.
Funny you should mention that, because my follow-up question was going to be around the areas of, there's been recent reports in Ethiopia where people have been moving under the guise of adoption, and then you see things like human trafficking, child trafficking coming up. I think there's a case that is really has grown up in the past few days where kids were being taken through the right channels of adoption, and then boom, when they get there, everything turns into something else. Oh,
that is really terrible. I believe that the state where the children are from is a responsibility to keep reasonable follows up. So I would personally think that I would, if it's a foreign adoption, it must be maybe to a place where we have an embassy, a Zimbabwean embassy, where, from time to time, there can be checks in the appropriate way to see how the child is faring. Because I think it's totally wrong to just block with a blanket block in the options for children who no one cares after. I mean, I don't see why we would refuse to allow people who want to love children to take them when we don't do so ourselves. Yeah. I don't know many people of my culture and my color who go into a children's home and say, I'm adopting this child. We refuse them, we don't want to deal with them. And then what's the point of it?
We might just go before the camera, we're donating, but then, after that, we leave them to,
That's right. I think it's in the best interest of children to be given a chance. I think we need to do that. And I think where there's abuse, I think there will be weak controls and weak systems and weak follow-ups. But look, let's give every child a chance to be, to be loved and to be loved after.
Exactly.
That's right.
Especially when there is interest, we follow that with the checks and balances to see that this child is under proper care, etc.
I would think so.
Nice.
Absolutely. I'm for that.
There you have it, folks. It has been an interesting and educative segment that, I was like, oh wow, like she's just chilled, disseminating the knowledge, like, you know, like with zero, like, he doesn't want that. Anyway, this is the Unusual Brief, where we ask our guests to do something unusual, something you've never done before. We ask you to do it for the viewers, for the pleasure of their viewing on the Unusual Brief.
Wow. Some of that would not be proper.
Are you sure? Trust me, the Unusual Brief will take it. We can devour
There's a
it.
censorship board in this country.
No, we know that someone was there, then they were, they resigned, so it's fine. It will sail through that one.
Look, I'm going to, I'll say,
It's fine. Oh, come on, it's fine. Yeah.
I've screamed. That's what I've done.
I told you, she's chilled, she's calm. Did you hear the scream? That's all for the Unusual Brief. My name is Doc Figela, and bye-bye.